Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey you, it's me, Jennifer, from the Curly Girls Obsessions. Today is a podcast that's like coming from my heart. I was just on the phone with another salon owner in Texas wanting to get all the ins about curly hair, cutting, styling, extensions, you name it. And it was an awesome conversation. It was slotted for like 30 minutes of my day. I think it ended up taking 2 hours. And we just got along and really hit it off. And a lot of the things that we talked about, I feel just light my soul on fire as a person, as a business owner, as a hairstylist with clients all the time. There are just those kind of conversations in life that you need to have to get further, right? So, a lot of these podcasts have been about business, how my business started, my professional career from start to current, my team at the salon, the extensions, curly hair. But I never really have had the opportunity to discuss like this other side of me that is, I guess it's kind of woo woo, like maybe we all have that woo woo side, but there are just these things, right? So we're talking, and this stylist was telling me all about her startup with her salon and her life prior to in the buildup, and then getting to the point of getting a space, and then all the roadblocks that she encountered during the opening of her salon. Sorry, I'm shutting my phone off so it doesn't bother us. And she was talking, spiritually, like God told her that she needed to do this and that she was going to be successful. But why are all these things happening, right? Is everything harder than it should be? Why are all these things happening that are delaying the opening? And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, these are the things that God puts in front of you before you open your business, because owning your business, owning your own business can be so many different things. It can be rewarding, it can mean freedom, it can mean you're in complete control. If you smell my dog, or if you hear my dog sniffing, it's because he's right here. And he's trying to get in on the podcast. But all these roadblocks come to us, in life always. And it always seems like they're more apparent when you're starting something new. And personally, I always kind of feel that those kind of things happen so that you're really shown how strong you are and how much you can handle in life. Because let's be real, not every day is a cakewalk, right? So as she's going through this and as she's telling me, I said to her, I do believe that God puts all these things in front of us, and because we need to know how strong we are. And we need to know that it's the road. While we can, try to be positive about everything, and we can say that it's going to be this and it's going to be that and it's going to be great, it's not an easy path to be a business owner. And you've got to experience the hard before you can get to the good. And when you're in the good, the hard might show back up again, right? So we keep talking, and she's sharing other things. And I just felt like I needed to share this story with her. So when my husband, I want to say it was like 4 years ago, or maybe it was 5 years ago, He left his job at one company that he worked for, and he started working for a new company. And of course, at the new company, the grass was not greener. It just really wasn't. And he was there for less than 5 months. Bear, sorry, my dog. He was there for less than 5 months, and he had to leave this position. So I was like, you're going to do fine. You're going to find the right fit. This is happening for a reason. And meanwhile, I'm kind of dying inside, right? Because 4 children, we have a house, a mortgage. I mean, it was crazy. And at the time, I also owned the salon. And one night, my friend was like, I really want you to come with me and try this yoga. I think you're gonna love it. And I'm like, I don't like to work out outside of my house. Like, I don't see myself doing that. She's like, trust me, you're gonna love it. So I start going to yoga class. And personally, my whole life growing up, there wasn't a ton of religion. There wasn't, I mean, I was married in the Catholic Church with my husband, who was Catholic grade school, all the steps all the way through. And my family, it just didn't happen like that. And I think it was because my cousin, when he was 13, he died in a car accident. And my mom was very angry for a long time. And, rightfully so. It's pretty horrible. And so religion just wasn't in my life. So I start going to yoga, and I know yoga is not a religion. But what I will say about yoga is the first time I went, I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this was the greatest thing. I can't believe I wasn't willing to try this before. And so I continue on with the yoga. And it also, I want to say like 3 weeks into going to yoga was when this had happened with my husband and his job. And so I was like, gosh, yoga's expensive. He's not working, but I have to keep this up or I'm going to go crazy between just keeping it all together, the house, my kids, the salon. And I continued on. And it was December 21st, because it was the shortest day of the year. The yoga studio had a shaman come in, and there was a whole ritual and ceremony around the shortest day of the year, the shortest day of light, the longest day of darkness. And it was such a neat experience. And so we did yoga, I want to say for like an hour and 15 minutes. And then the shaman led us through this meditation. And in the meditation, she guides us through the whole thing. And you get to this point and she says, okay, envision yourself in your favorite space. Easy for me. I feel myself being in the Smoky Mountains, sitting next to this creek on a bench, like just soaking it all in. There's this place that my family loves to go in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains, and it's gorgeous. The cabins are amazing. The land, as you're driving there, you're driving past this massive valley. There used to be this beautiful horse farm, so there was freely running horses all over. And then you get to it, it's a gated community, and you drive up this mountain, one way up, one way down, with all these gorgeous cabins. And so at the entrance is this creek that runs the whole length of the valley. So that's where I picture myself sitting, right? And I got a blanket because it's like crisp air in like probably a fall morning or spring day, because it was that kind of air. And I have a cup of coffee, of course, my favorite beverage of choice. And I'm wrapped in a blanket. And it's that kind of morning where it's the chill in the air is like producing that steam from your breath, and you can see it coming off the coffee. And she says, okay, now your guide is going to show up in front of you, right? So I'm still in the yoga class. I'm really not in Tennessee, right? And I have two guides in front of me, not just one in this meditation, right? So it's my mind, my imagination is running wild. One guide is a man, tall, dark hair, and the other guide is also a man, and he's got blonde hair and light eyes. And she's like, your guides are going to give you a gift. And strangely enough, the gift was a blue agate. And afterwards, of course, I Googled, what's the meaning of a blue agate as a gift? And it's pretty crazy when you start to research it, what it says. I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone and read it to you after I tell you this story, because it's so like profoundly interesting to me. So they hand me this blue agate, and it's like this stone that's black on the outside, and what I'm seeing on the inside is just like all this blue crystal, right? Like it's gleaming blue. And then behind them is this hummingbird that's swirling. And she's like, be aware of what your guides are going to tell you. And I'm looking at my guides, right, in this meditation, and they're not speaking to me. I'm like, what? Well, they're not talking to me. And I'm starting to get anxious, right? But this hummingbird is holding my attention in the background. So something else that should be said is the first time that we stayed at this place in the Smoky Mountains was the first time I ever physically in person encountered a hummingbird. And I was sitting on the porch early in the morning, and it was very similar air because we went at spring break, and I'm waiting for the sun to rise. Like that is my most favorite time of day with a cup of coffee. I'm sitting on this porch in this rocking chair, just waiting. And all of a sudden something catches my eye, and I look over, and there is this hummingbird. And it kind of scared me at first and took me by surprise, because seeing a hummingbird up close, like it is pretty amazing that a hummingbird could flap their wings at the pace that they do and maintain stillness. And if you've ever come in contact with a hummingbird, or if you've ever watched them long enough, like they will look you in the eye. The bird is so unbelievable, the way that it can fly. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever had another bird look you in the eye? It was pretty crazy, because this bird held gaze with me for a good 30 seconds. And I was so like taken by it, because it was so gorgeous, right? And then so tiny, but so fiercely powerful, holding that, their wings, their wings are going, and he's locking eyes with me. If that's a thing, right? I know this might sound crazy, but just keep listening. And so this hummingbird is behind these two guides, and he starts to circle them. And as he's circling them and they're looking at me holding this blue agate, the hummingbird then starts to fly off over in onto the side and starts to swirl up. And at that point is when this hummingbird goes from a hummingbird into an eagle. And the words are said, not from the guides just there. You already know how to fly. Now you need to learn how to soar. What? I was in such a state of shock. Like this whole thing took me to, like, obviously Google psychosis, right? Like I'm Googling, what does all this mean? And hummingbirds, their strength and agility and their like their ability to continue on at the pace in which they do surpasses any other bird, right? Not an eagle, but they fly so much faster than any other bird. And they're just these amazing little tiny, beautiful creatures. Like there's so many colors on them. And it's just crazy to think of what they can do. And then back to this blue agate, right? And at the state in my life with my husband not being in work and just putting my best foot forward, my happy face on, even when I was struggling internally really hard, trying to keep things afloat. So this is what it says. The meaning of blue agate is calmness. Blue agate stone is known as a talisman with great healing energies. It has been believed that the gemstone lessens negative energies or various stresses. It is said to release tension and to relax. A blue agate stone harmonizes with your energies. Okay, and then the blue agate. The meaning of a blue agate also includes a smooth flow of the fortune. It has been believed that the blue agate leads you to the right path. It has also been said to connect to the higher realms. By receiving the message from higher realms, it is said to make a right decision. A blue agate will guide you into happiness. And then there's several other meanings, but it was kind of one of those things where all of that was things that I needed. I didn't know I needed them, right? Like I'm in this meditation and I'm struggling, but I'm going through this meditation and these things are appearing. The meaning of blue agate also includes spiritual release. It has been believed that the blue agate can release your trauma in the past and give you energy to move on. The gemstone helps you to recover from I can't pronounce it. It is also used to increase initiative. The blue agate stone has positive energies in it. Okay, so when I read that after the whole meditation, the whole ceremony that we went through with this shaman, I was like, okay, our brains are smarter than us, but how is it possible that I would know any of that before going into this thing? Because just that last definition and then the hummingbird turning into the eagle, saying you already know how to fly, now you need to learn how to soar. It just gave me such appreciation for what was, and that I knew something amazing was on the horizon. And so as I'm talking with this salon owner and we're going over things and she wants me to come and teach them all things curly, right? And there's this mental block with the cost. And I wouldn't even say no, she didn't have a mental block. She knows what she wants and she's got to figure out how to get it, right? And so we're discussing the trials and tribulations of her life, and I tell her the story that I just told you guys, and then she tells me something else that happens, and I said to her, the thing is that once you go through that hard time, right, you learn from it and you never go back. You are given this opportunity to find strength in it, but don't ever repeat it again, because that opportunity to find strength is not available twice, right? Like if you repeat the same mistake over and over and over in life, you're going to get the same result and it's going to suck. But if you take that mistake or that situation that was bad and you learn from it and you don't make it again, odds are your life is going to get better. The other part too that I shared with her that I believe as a business owner is imperative, and I think it's just really and truly a good life skill. It doesn't matter if you're a business owner or not, is the fact that when that thing happens to you and you're crazy upset, you can't believe that this has happened, you give yourself 90 seconds to mourn it. Because whatever it is, it's leaving. If it's upset you and you like to cry, cry it out. I don't like to cry. I don't cry. And it's not because I'm a cold and callous person. Number one, I don't like my eyes to get red and puffy. Number two, my nose will get stuffy. It just feels like shit. I never really feel better after I cry. So I've just decided I just don't cry. So, and whatever that makes you think of me, then so be it. But I really don't like to cry. So I don't cry. But I did say to her, like, if that makes you feel better, then you just cry it out. But you give yourself 90 seconds, set a timer, and when the 90 seconds is over, you're done with it. You're moving forward and you're never looking back at that moment and reliving it. Like you've learned your lesson from it, you're moving on, right? And then we start to discuss the cost of the class, the cost of what she would be charging afterwards, and how to bring value to her team as far as what does, if they invest in the education, what is going to be the breaking point at the end? How much money are they going to make being a stylist who specializes in curly? So we go through all that, and the whole time I'm thinking like how much I'm enjoying being on the phone with her and how much I'm enjoying the conversation with her. And she says to me, like, this conversation was so good to me. I've learned so much. I feel so excited. And I really want to learn curly. She's like, but I'm not going to lie. Curly hair extensions scare me. And as a stylist, I can say that they scared me in the beginning. They scared me in the middle. And I still have moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, is the hair curly enough going in that client's hair? Is this going to blend? Is this the right color match? Is this? Is this that? Right? And I keep second guessing myself, but it gets me nowhere except to the same outcome, right? Like I'm still going to perform the service. I'm still going to do everything that I do that I know works out right. And it's always going to work out. So why do I stress myself out with this? And I think that sometimes it's because we lose our ego sense of knowledge and we retract a little. And it just goes back to like, you know how to fly. Now you need to learn how to soar. And if you soar and you're up there, you're figuring it out. Like if you're not letting that self-doubt enter in your mind, you're figuring it out. Fear is one of the worst emotions. I don't like to watch scary movies because I just feel like on a daily basis, I get enough in my own head that I don't need a scary movie to send me over the edge, right? But the truth of the matter remains is that, like, if you don't scare yourself really good every day, then you really haven't grown as a person. And it's not from watching a scary movie. It's by stepping out of the box, getting out of your comfort zone, and trying something new in life. Because if you don't try new things, life becomes boring and dull. If you don't push yourself to try new things, you're never going to soar. That's all, right? You're just never going to soar. And honestly, like what your soaring looks like in comparison to my soaring is probably two different, different things. But just don't stay average. Try to soar, scare yourself really good, try new things, and step out of your comfort zone. So that's that. The other thing I heard the other day too, because like I listened to a lot of growth mindset podcasts my friends are always like, how the hell do you listen to all this shit? I'm like, because if I have a dull moment at home, like if I'm doing nothing, my AirPods are in and I am listening to something because I just get bored, right? Like I need to keep things going. I need to hear things, whether it be music or a podcast, but usually it's a podcast because if I get a little nugget of information in my day, it's going to help me to get to that point where I'm going to scare myself to do something different to create better things, right? And so this was talking about eagles, and it reminded me of my story. And she said, she is Rachel Hollis. I love listening to her. And she says that with birds, birds only see birds that fly at their levels. So eagles are the highest flying birds out there. Eagles only see other eagles all the time because of how high they soar. Wouldn't it be nice to always be in the presence of other eagles that are also soaring just as high, that are always pushing themselves? Like as a society, if we could grow to always think outside of the box and push ourselves past our norm, wouldn't it be amazing? Rather than keeping yourself small and doing something over and over that you know works just because you know it works versus trying something new. So today's motto with my woo-woo story is learn how to be an eagle, but always remember the hummingbird because you must stay humble. I always wear this. I mean, I wear this a lot, and it is a hummingbird because I feel like it's one of those spiritual, like, pieces that keeps me grounded, right? And I also wear a lot of stones. This is a blue agate. And sometimes I'll put them in my pocket if it doesn't go with what I'm wearing. If I don't want to wear this necklace, I have a hummingbird Alex and Ani bracelet that I got from one of my really awesome friends. Her name is Tara. And yeah, there's something about the symbolism in pieces that if you carry them with you, whatever the thing means to you, right? And you need the reminder, there it is in your pocket to touch it. One time when we were in Tennessee, last story, and then I'm going to cut this one off. We were on this hike and it was really hard for me. And I do struggle walking up hills because I think from working as a hairstylist as long, my knees are not the greatest. And I try not to tell myself that. I try to make myself believe that they're amazing. But we're walking this hike and I'm like, my kids are running ahead of me. I am going to get to the top of this, whatever they call it, hill or mountain or whatever, and we're going to get to the falls. It was a mountain. I mean, it was a hard ass hike. I'm not going to lie. And I picked up this rock because it just was like, for whatever reason, it caught my attention and it had really rough edges. And I said to myself, oh, this is showing me how hard the climb is. I'm going to keep this. And whenever I complain, I'm just going to like brush, whenever I feel like complaining, I'm just going to rub my fingers over those hard edges to remind myself that whatever I'm complaining about really isn't as hard as that hike was, because the climb on that hike was rough. I pick up that rock. That rock I've had with me since then. And when I went to Florida in June, I was walking on the beach, and if you guys are on my social media, I posted this post. It was on my personal page of me walking on the beach and the water retracts, and there's this clump in the sand, and it's a bunch of shells. It has a name. I can't think of the name right now, but a bunch of shells over time that have formed to create this rock, right? super heavy. Like I'm like trying to see if I could pick it up. I can't pick it up. It's so lodged in. God only knows how far down in the sand it was, but it was in the shape of a heart. And at that time, I was going through a lot with the extension business and just feeling overwhelmed. So many companies were coming out with textured hair extensions. And I was just like, gosh, how am I going to get ahead of this? Like, this is so crazy. And not everybody knows that we have naturally curly hair and why, right? And all of a sudden, this water retracts, and here's this thing that is in the shape of a heart, and it's many shells compacted, super hard in the shape of a heart, right? How long did that take to make? How strong was that structure? How many things, like if I could take the shells and dissect it and say, how many thoughts were in that, right? How many shells are the thoughts that form together to create this awesomely beautiful heart texture? And it's like a lot. It was just, I felt like when the water retracted and showed that heart to me, if you know my salon, the heart is part of the logo. My extension line, the heart is part of the logo. Like it's everywhere. Here's this heart that I can't take with me that I loved right there in the ocean for me to see. I felt like it was God's way of saying, you're going to figure it out. And I really did figure it out within less than 30 minutes after that was like the aha moment that all these extension lines, all their extensions are permed hair, can't hold a candle to naturally curly hair from India. And so why was I stressing, right? Because even if people try the permed hair, they're going to come back around to see what Adored Signature has to offer in a luxury hair opportunity, right? Like it's night and day difference. There's no comparison. And I did leave that vacation feeling better. And a few steps past that heart was this shell, and it caught my eye. And I pick it up because it was little and I could pick it up, unlike the other thing. And I rubbed my hands like over it, and it was the smoothest surface I ever felt. Like I just was like, oh gosh, that feels so good. And it must have been obviously from the water, you know, all the things that shells go through in their life before they even make it to shore is pretty amazing that they actually make it to shore as a shell. Um, and I was like, I think this is supposed to replace the rock. I think this is supposed to replace the rock that shows me how hard the climb is with how smooth the sail can be if needed, right? Here's the smooth shell. Like it's going to be easier. You're going to figure it out, and that's going to be that. So on any given day, I will have this smooth shell in my pocket or in my purse, just so that it's there, that I like, if I feel the need to rub it, I can rub it, right? And the photo of that heart is etched into my phone, and it is also on my social media. And it's just always those moments in those spiritual places, right? The mountains, the ocean, the yoga studio. Honestly, the yoga studio is pretty darn cool over here, where you find your most vulnerable state of mind. And for me, the most obvious answers on how to move forward, how to be good, how to carry on, how to overcome, and how to see things for what they really should be and what they really are. And is it really hard, or was it just a bump in the road? It's usually just a bump in the road, and you have all the tools in the toolbox to figure out how to get over it and how to overcome the hardness of it. God knows, if you go back and listen to my first podcast that speaks about my life, there's been a lot to overcome. And I always am like grateful for those moments of learning how to overcome the hardness. As much as I hated this, or as much as I hated that, or as much as I thought this was bad, The good always shows after the fact. You always learn something. Good, bad, your failures. A failure really isn't a failure. A failure is just a really awesome learning lesson. And if we don't fail, we never grow. Like if the road is always paved perfectly, then your overinflated ego that things are always perfect is there, right? Like that's just not how it goes. So I know you're probably sitting here too, thinking it's pretty funny that I'm sitting here with Coach Ditka and his cigar and this other photo over here of him. I'm sitting in my husband's office. These are his prized photos. And I just think it's pretty funny that the best lighting in my house today was in this room with these coaching photos, because we all need a coach in life, no matter how it is. What is it? Is it your podcast? Is it a physical coach that you work with one-on-one? Is it your coach, your trainer for working out? Do you work out with a trainer? Is it yourself? Do you coach yourself through those hard moments on a daily basis? There's always going to be a coach, and there's always going to be a lesson. And you should always push the boundaries and scare yourself just a little bit each day to become a better person and do bigger and better things and soar with the eagles. God knows that's where I want to be, but always be humbled and always, whatever helps you get through the day on a good note, right? Like not alcohol, not drugs. Use your symbols to get you in the right frame of mind. So that's my spiritual woo-woo talk for the day. And I hope this motivated you some way, shape, or form. And there'll be more podcasts like this, because honestly, that's like one of my favorite things to think about and talk about. It's one of the things that moves me the most in life. And yeah, I really hope that I get to meet this girl in person. She's from Texas, and it'll be fun to teach all things curly to her. But definitely it was a conversation that lit me up and brought on this podcast. So thank you for listening. I'm always grateful for the listen. Give us a follow up in the top corner, write a review, leave a rating, send it to your friends. But we're always so grateful for you and the time you spend with me. So thanks. I hope you have a great day. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Jennifer_Johnson_Janish. And on TikTok, it's Curly, I think it's called Jennifer Curly Girl. But yeah, you can find me there. See you soon.